Hello and welcome. I'm Christina Raab, Vice President of Strategy for the Cradle Products Innovation Institute. For this month's 5 in 10 conversation, we have invited Devon Leahy, Ralph Lauren's Vice President of Sustainability, to talk with us about the company's circularity strategy and ambition. Devon, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
Devon, Ralph Lauren introduced a new circularity strategy in March. Why a circularity strategy, and what is the ambition and vision informing this new commitment?
It's exactly the question that I asked myself when I joined Ralph Lauren about 2.5 years ago. What really about the Ralph Lauren brand could we authentically tap into when it came to sustainability? And the answer very clearly was circularity. The brand is rooted in timelessness, in Ralph's vision for, really style that endures as opposed to fashion and trend. And what we were able to do in launching our new commitments in March was really bring some gravity, bring, some ambition to that heritage and that sort of, authentic commitment to timelessness that we've had as a brand.
Mm-hmm. And the strategy centers on 3 key elements: designing for circularity, creating circular consumer experiences, and advancing a circular product economy. Can you give us a brief overview of each and comment on why Ralph Lauren is prioritizing these areas?
Absolutely. I think it was really important that the strategy was holistic and that it was both about what we can do at Ralph Lauren through our products, but also knowing that some of the major obstacles we have to creating a more circular economy are in, infrastructure and the systems that on designing for circularity. Our commitment there is around C2C product, and we're targeting 5 of what we think of as some of our most iconic products. So when you think of Ralph Lauren, you may think of a chino pant or an Oxford shirt, of course, the polo shirt. So those are some of the types of products that we'll be looking at bringing into the C2C standard and doing that by 2025. And so we chose, we're thinking about our icons and thinking about 5 products really as a way to learn, circular design, change some of our process, change the way we are engaging with our supply chain, and not just limit those learnings to those 5 products, but use those as a way to, create best practices across entire categories of products. So on the consumer or the customer experience side, this is where we start to get into Lauren Look, which is our rental program for our Lauren by Ralph Lauren brand. And as a sort of foray into this, we've also been for many years doing sort of smaller capsules in the vintage space. And those are both examples of, circular customer experiences that we will be building on. And you'll see more from us in the re-commerce space. And we're committed to having, those new programs in the market by the end of 2022. And then finally, this idea of what we do outside of Ralph Lauren and how, of course, what we do in product and we do in experiences, we want to share, through case studies, through engagement with other brands and some of these multi-stakeholder initiatives. Through all of this, we're also able to leverage another area of our innovation work, which is around digital product identification. A number, of brands are looking at this, through the lens of if, we're able to identify a product at different points in its life cycle. We know the fiber content, we know where it came from, we know the kind of components that when it's making it, it really enables us to safely cycle that product through systems in the future.
And then when you said by 2025, your customers can expect to find Cradle to Cradle certification for 5 of your most iconic products. Mm-hmm. What is the value of certification to the Ralph Lauren brand?
I think the value is in multiple layers. There's, of course, the actual standard, the components of it. It's incredibly holistic, covering everything from material health to social fairness. It really, I think there are many certifications and standards out there that have pushed us to engage with our supply chain, but C2C really is different. It has the rigor of it, the thoughtfulness, I think, of what's going into manufacturing, but also how that impacts what happens post-manufacturing. So I think it really does sort of bring together a supply chain in a different way. And we're early in that process right now for our first product. And that's, so I'm already seeing the kind of collaboration and like the deeper relationship building in our supply chain happening, which, has tremendous value, right, beyond this product that we're working on, but, just for the suppliers that we partner with. And I think another important layer is the credibility. There's because it's rigorous, because the way the standard has been developed, its application to different sectors and industries and its recognition, that is something that has tremendous value as well. So to be able to kind of pair the Ralph Lauren brand with essentially the Cradle to Cradle brand, the entire concept that is behind Cradle to Cradle. As I mentioned, the onset, that connection to timelessness is so intrinsic.
Great. And let's turn a little bit to the customer experiences. So we are increasingly hearing about new customer experiences in fashion as brands move to introduce innovative channels of rental, retail, and recycling. You have also mentioned them. How do you think this will affect traditional retail models?
Yeah, I mean, traditional retail models, right, are based on sort of a single transaction on a single unit, and I think we are already seeing how we can create a lot of value from a brand perspective, from a consumer perspective, shareholder perspective, when we start to decouple that single transaction from a single unit and start to see how we can, grow our engagement and relationship with our customers and our consumers over multiple points of interaction beyond that single transaction. So I think we're going to start to see, and we're already seeing customers, have much more of a hybrid approach to the way that they interact with brands. It's part brick and mortar, it's part virtual shopping, it's part rental, it's part peer-to-peer, closet to closet, sharing and that. So I think you're going to start to, and we're already seeing, we'll see more of this, where brands that maybe traditionally, have had a more traditional retail model are going to have a much more diverse portfolio and ways of kind of engaging with consumers through their product, but also through services like rental, re-commerce, take back, all of those. And I think something I'm hopeful for is in the same way that we start to set, or that we have been setting, revenue targets annually for product, that we start to set those same kinds of business targets and objectives when it comes to re-commerce and it comes to rental, and kind of what I think will be the new norm in retail.
And without doubt, closing the circularity gap is one of fashion's biggest challenges. And as you have also alluded to, one that can only be solved via collaboration and partnership across the supply chain. Where do you see the most immediate opportunities to close the circularity gap?
Technology or infrastructure, that from where Ralph Lauren sits and the nature of our business and the materials and fibers that we use is really key to close. Quite honestly, in some of these areas, when it comes to, again, take back, recycling, and the technologies that don't just result in down cycle, but that really result in driving, more circular product material service flows. So I think finance is a big component of this. I think brand collaboration is a big component. And I think the also interaction engagement with local and national municipal government. If all of the brands in our industry could kind of have that lens on, not just what we can do internally, but also how we can start to shift the larger system, we'll really start to be able to unlock some of those gaps.
Well, thank you so much, Devon, for being with us today and for your valuable insights as part of this 5 in 10 conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great to chat.